So remember the stiffener that I put on top. Now it's time to put the bottom one on. And so it'll run right along. It'll run right along the rib there. But we'll need a spacer at each point, a 1/8 inch piece of geodetic spacer. Under here, under there, and under both spars. And then I'm going to put a little block right here for it to push up against. Of course, I'll scuff up this glue. T88 glues to itself pretty good, but you got to scuff it up first. Never just leave it smooth. So I marked it, put it up under there, and marked where each one of the spars and then these here geodetics cross it, and main spar. And I'm going to scuff those up, put glue on them, and then start putting it up. Now down here in the very back bottom, right there, I'm going to put a piece of geodetic in that slot, and then a spacer, an 1/8 inch spacer, and then let me look at that. Maybe I don't need a, nope, I don't need a spacer. I'll just put a piece in that slot and then put it right up against that. So I put a little wedge up in the top stiffener too. And then I put a little wedge down there. And then I've got wedges, spacers I mean, under the spar and under each one of the geodetics. And of course it's glued up just like the top one was. Yeah, I don't really have enough clamps to start doing this here stiffener on this end, which isn't on the prints, but I still put it on. It just seems ridiculous not to. It really stiffens up the two ends. Anyways, it's time to, but I do have 6 of these made, false ribs, so might as well start fitting them. Of course, once again, you do dry fitting before you ever glue them. So you just kind of want to get it in there, and that's not bad actually. It's a little stiff, it's a little tight, not much though. I think that's good. I think I'll leave that right there, right like it is. And then before I get ready to glue it, I'll go ahead and push it aside, glue it up, glue this, and then I'll measure between the two sides. And this second one, it's almost perfect, but needed a couple of spacers right there up at the top, a couple of shims or a folded over shim. Bottom butted up nice and even. So now we run into where the scarf joints are with the backing, little backing geodetic pieces. So I'll just shave a little bit off of here down at the bottom so it'll fit in there. And if it's very thin, if I'm cutting it very thin, then I'll go ahead and put a little piece, scab a piece on the side of it, just give it a little more strength. So we got almost half of the false ribs in, and they're dry fitted, so I can go ahead and start gluing them in. And next will be the nose caps. But I think I'm going to wait until I get my leading edge material. I ordered some 1/32. I didn't think I was going to be able to find it, and I ordered 1/16. Well, I did find 1/32. Wix had it, so that should be here, probably within the week, I would imagine. Here's another one of those frustrating things that you run into. And as far as aviation blueprints go, these are not bad. I've seen worse. But they all seem to have anomalies, like that their triangle piece, it's right at the top of the wing, even with the ribs, right? But then they show you here that the geodetic glues up on top of it. Well, you can't glue it up on top of it. Your geodetic's going to be up in your wind stream, and your fabric's going to be all bulged up there. So on my last wing, I glued this down below the rib, or about halfway down the rib, so I had room to put the geodetic on. But then once you do that, now you have to build up between it a bar, because you have to fabricate. This here has to be smooth and even all the way across. So yeah, you can put the geodetic up on top here, but now you've got to fill this whole space evenly so that you can fabricate straight across, nice and even. And so what I'm going to do is I'll glue the geodetic under it, and where the hinges go, I'll probably just start the hinge just inside, right in here somewhere. Where's the print? The print calls for them right at the very edge. I'll move it in a little bit so my geodetic can come up in the corner. And the blocking, because that's where you put this extra block right here. So well, I suppose you could put your geodetic underneath that. I don't know, we'll see whenever we get there, which is, I don't know, I guess now. Now I want to get the geodetic in next, because commercial white ash has the same modulus of elasticity as Sitka spruce. It's very strong and tough, but yet it's fairly flexible. And I did notice out at the tips of the aileron that you do get a little bit of flex. You can grab it and move it up and down. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of geodetic and run it from somewhere up in here diagonally down across that, down to the far corner. And that just seems to be just enough to stiffen it up. And but I do that after I get all the crisscross geodetics put in. Well, after measuring the pulleys, the distance off the back side of the compression strut to the track of the pulleys, the center of the cable's about 1 inch 7/100,000. So I brought that line out here. So I'm going to use this to make my aileron horn. What would that be? Aileron horn spar. Anyways, right here is where I'm going to, the horn will be on this side of the line, and the spar will be on the right side of the line. Well, if you have a better way of doing this, don't laugh at me and make fun of me. Just tell me how you would do it. But to make this here horn arm, aileron horn arm, I just line it up down here at the trailing edge, and then up here, and then I know this angle right here is coming up like this. So I start out just lining it up, and I know it's gonna need to be shaved down below that. But I just start there. And this here one is straight, comes straight out. And I'll just notch them out. That might be too much, I don't know. Anyways, I'll notch them out a little bit less than what I think they need to be. Try to fit them, and I just keep going in and out. Just push it, set it in there, trim and shim, or trim, and if it gets short, I might shim it, but if it gets too short, then I'll just start over with a new piece. So this took about 20 minutes to get it. Can you see that there? Yeah. To get it to fit very well. Let's see, I want to measure. And we got, about 60 millimeters to the right piece of ply, right there. All right. Yep. Let's see what it is. Yeah, it's pretty straight all the way down. All right. So, anyways, yeah, that took me about 20 minutes to do. Now there's a good amount hanging off the bottom. This here is even. The top is even. And then I'm going to put a stiffener on the one side here. Doesn't call for it, but I always put a piece of, I think it's an 1/8 inch by 1 inch I usually put in here. Or no, it's a whole plate that fits right about here, about 3/4, about right in this section right here. But I got a nice snug fit on both sides. So, oh, come on. Yeah. And of course we'll block it in the entire way around. This here will get blocked in, and we'll use the slots too. And that's what the horn, aileron horn, will connect to. And let's sight down that, see if it looks about right. Actually, that might not look all that right. Yeah, I'll put a square on the main spar, and sight it back here, run it back this way, make sure it's straight back. So the reason it's like a hit and miss on a bunch of stuff is just because of clamping. So I've got all these clamps here. I've got my long clamps that I use for the stiffeners, 1 inch stiffeners, all down there. Otherwise I'd kept going with stiffeners right here. Can't really cut this to shape. I want to make the wingtip bow, and the wingtip bow's over in the middle of the wing rib bench. So I'll have to notch that off, cut this off, and then build up that, oh geez, that section right there that the wingtip bow connects to. So a bunch of stuff coming up, and basically waiting on things to dry so we can move clamps. Well, this one here, I'll just notch that out and put about a 3/4 inch piece. I'll just glue it onto it and then notch that out. And that'll reinforce it enough and get it back so we can line it up. And I think that should be plenty big enough. This one here needed shimmed up on the front there. So it's the first one. The others, all the rest of them I had to shave a little bit off of that to get these to fit snug. So they're coming out pretty close though. So that's about half of the false ribs in, and tomorrow I'll glue them up and work on the geodetic on the aileron back there, and then I'll grab these clamps from over here and start on the outboard side to get all those get the reinforcement 1 inch stiffeners out there, and the 1 inch stiffeners on the aileron right there, and then out at the end. And here we go.